red, like dark candy, like cherry red.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what I'm indecisive. You know.
I feel you. All right, so this is the progress I have on the fiberglass enclosure. I probably put like a good 5 layers, about 6 in some areas. Reinforced this quite a bit because I ended up cutting a hole out of this because it had some pretty high spots on the other side. And I cut them and it left a hole. So I patched all that up and put a lot of layers. I even folded one here and then put some more resin on that side. It's looking pretty good. It's actually pretty heavy so far. Debating on putting like at least one more layer, but I think that's just me being extra. Yeah, I'm gonna start on cutting the speaker rings and then we can go ahead and do the front side. It's looking good. All right, hey guys. All right, so it's the next day. So I'm finishing up the rings for the speaker and everything. So I got the bigger one cut out. Only way I like determined the size for it was I think I just so I put my speaker face down and then I traced the ring and that gave me this dimension there. And then I found the center of the circle by me and my friend Ellie helped me out with it. So you can see that center, and so basically there's these holes on the subwoofer, and then we just drew a line, or we drew a dot there, dot there, dot here, dot there on the wood, and then we got a straight edge like this, and then we just did that and we crossed it, and then basically where they crossed is where the center was, and the whole point of finding the center was so I think there's other tools you can use for this, but this is what we ended up doing. There's like math equations that you can do, but we didn't feel like doing all that. So so basically after we had this one drawn, we wanted to get the outer dimension, but we wanted it to be a perfect circle. So after we found the center of the circle, I just got a screw and I drilled it through this thing, and then I had it in the center, and I got a pin, and I just like went all the way around and like marked it like that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And so that's how I got this ring. This is the ring that it's actually gonna like mount into. And then I've seen some people put like they'll stack another ring on the outside of this, like, and it'll sit above the speaker, so that way, and you mount that ring to this ring, and this one's gonna actually be smaller. Well, it's gonna have the same outer dimension because it's gonna mount to this, but you got to leave room for the speaker to sit in this for the flange. So I made it just a smidge smaller, and so doing that, that's gonna basically give me room for this to sit. And then once you put the speaker in it, it's not gonna be sitting above this ring, it'll be sitting flush because we're gonna have 2 stacked, and it's gonna sit like on the inside groove of it. You guys will see what I'm saying. Yeah, I've seen some people do it. Looks pretty clean, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. It's only gonna take like another 15-20 minutes worth of work, hopefully. And the way I'm cutting mine, I don't have a router or anything, showing you guys how to make this work with what you have. I've been using a jigsaw. I've always used them for like cutting out stuff in MDF and even plywood. Yeah, you just gotta, when you cut and you're trying to curve, you just gotta keep a consistent, you gotta like twist the jigsaw. You just gotta be very consistent with it, and then make sure your blade, like one side of the blade is on the inside or the outside of the ring, depending on how big you want it to be, and keep that blade like rubbing the outside. Like, by what I mean is, when you're cutting, like where your line is, you want this blade to be sitting like so I'm using the left side of it, but when I cut it, how did I cut this one? I really can't remember. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, keep your blade consistent to where it is. Don't try to put the blade in the middle. Just have one side of the blade to the other, if that makes sense. I mean, to one side or the other of the line. And yeah, so this is a pretty neat trick. And you can also, like, I was gonna make this, I may do it in the future. I may cut it a little shorter for projects like this, for drawing circles. So basically, we just drill a hole in like we did there for the screw. And then I'm gonna measure like 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. So that way, like from the spot where the screw sits. So that way when I put the, and I'm gonna drill a hole in each of those locations, like a small hole, just enough for like your pin tip to fit in. And you basically just, on the 4 or 5 inch line or whatever, you just sit your pin tip in there, and then you draw it around, and you're gonna have a perfect 5 inch circle. I mean, maybe a bit off or whatever, but that's a neat little trick if you guys want to try that. I was about to do that, but we ended up just finding the center of this by crossing it. And the way I determine my inner diameter of the ring that sits on top is I got the speaker, laid it down. I literally just angled my pin out just a little bit so that way it's not flush up against the speaker. I just angled it out a little bit. So this is ballpark. I'm gonna eyeball it when I cut it, and I don't need it to be 100% perfect because it is gonna be wrapped and it's gonna hide any like small imperfections, so I'm not worried about that. So yeah, that's just an update on that. And the enclosure came out pretty good so far, sitting in the 350. Let's see. Yeah, that's it sitting in there right now. I was trying to figure out where I'm gonna mount up the rings and everything, and I'm thinking about just having it kind of like sitting here but angled up this way a little bit. It's not what I really wanted. I wanted it to be angled like a bit more of an angle this way, but it's pretty big. If you have a 10-inch, you have way more room playing in that area. So I'm not tripping about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this one cut. Oh yeah, and another thing with the jigsaw, you're gonna want to get a big drill bit or whatever, and then drill you a hole out, so that way you can put your blade in the hole, and then you can just start cutting. And usually when I cut circles, I'll cut like piece of slices, like basically, like so. I'll cut here. So I'll just like make straight cuts like right to the line, and then when I'm cutting, it'll just fall out, instead of like trying to cut like one big piece, because once you get to one side and you're like already done cutting the side, it's gonna be like leaning down, and it may wedge the blade up just against the wood. So that's a little neat trick that you guys can try. So yeah, jigsaw is awesome. I say spend your money on a drill before a router. Drill and a jigsaw before you go and buy an expensive router that you won't use often. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up, and then we should be good. Oh yeah, and very important thing to note, remember this, hopefully you watch this video before you do this. Make sure you cut the inside ring first, don't cut the outside one, because if you cut that one, then it's gonna just fall out of the board. You're not gonna have any stability when you cut the next one. So cut the inside first and then the outside. All right, now that that's done, it's not perfect, but it's definitely a lot better. So I had like a somewhat sharp lip that I wanted to grind down. I got that. So I'm going to get my wood glue, wherever that is. Here we go. Run it on your bigger ring on the part where it's going to meet up with the smaller one. Yeah, that should be more than enough. Actually, I'm gonna go a little bit extra on some parts. Do at least 4, all like 90 degrees from each other. I mean, this one isn't perfect placement, but somewhat like that. Yeah, let's go ahead and get back to the enclosure. So now I got to get the enclosure and then make some like mounts for the ring to set up the way I want it, which is going to be a little hard. And then you got to fiberglass the mounts in. It helps reinforce the box as well. People use wooden dowels. I think I may go grab some, honestly. I totally forgot when I was at Home Depot, and I don't have anything that I'm willing to use. I mean, I could use like straight pieces of this stuff, but then I got to cut it all, and then yeah, I'd rather just get like the wooden dowel. So I'm gonna head to Home Depot, grab this stuff, and then I'll be back here while that dries. Yo, what up? You know what I'm saying? Alright. Anyways. That is all good. I've taken the clamps off and it still holds pretty well, so success. Alright, the fun part is figuring out how I'm gonna get this to be suspended on this box somehow at the perfect height and angle, and fiberglass the things to it. So how am I gonna do this? Seen one guy like put his dowel, like he got some wooden dowels like this, basically just like had it fiberglass, or actually he had it taped to this. So I'm gonna tape it, that'd be a lot quicker. So he taped it to this, and he had it angle how he wanted it, and then he did the front part of it. So I'm actually going to tape it instead. I was gonna fiberglass it. I may fiberglass it like to the inside of the enclosure and maybe the joints to it, just to have that reinforcement or whatever. So we'll see. I'm gonna give it a shot. But the way I'm gonna plan on doing it is I'm gonna kind of start with one side. I'm gonna hold this up in the air, kind of like the angle I wanted to sit in the trunk, and then just basically tape one on there and then hold it back up, put the other one on there. But I want it to be on the longer side, so that way I can just cut this to the height I want, and then it'll move and change the angle as I cut it a bit. So make these longer than what you intend to actually go in there. You can always cut, but you can't add, at least as easily. So that's the plan. But I'm gonna call it here. I ended up the wire ended up working out that well for me. So I pretty much, I kind of used it on this part because I did the angle too sharp. And by the angle I mean I basically got my drill. I kind of set this how I want it, and then I just pictured a hole coming in for the wooden dowel, and then I just grabbed the drill bit and I kind of kept my finger where I wanted to put the hole, and I just like kind of gauged where I wanted the angle with the drill bit. So I like started it straight up and down just to get the hole going, and then I slowly tilted it, and then I kept it at an angle and just kept going down on it. But the idea isn't to go all the way through, so that way that the MDF is thick enough, or that it's enough space in there to like hold it from going through. So it's just gonna be that resistance I need, because I'm trying to like keep it suspended in the air, and it's hard with just the cord. So this one's taped in right here because the angle's just too tight, and this one pretty good angle. I had it too long, so I've been shortening this one to like make the angle like less aggressive, because it was like so high in the back and then the front was so short, or at a sharp angle. So I had to lower this quite a bit to kind of like level it out a bit to the angle I was looking for. And so now that I have the angle like kind of, let's see, this is only 2 sticks and it's holding like somewhat well. It's leaning on, like right now it's like not leaning on anything. It's literally just being held up by those 2. So this is working out pretty well. I'm gonna add in a third. I may just do a third like right here, like straight up and down. Well, it looks straight up and down at this point, but it's actually at an angle. So picture this being flat on the table. So you're gonna be drilling at an angle like this way, if that makes sense. So I wanted to go up here. So I'm actually gonna drill it towards the back a bit, and then that's gonna keep that angle that I'm looking for. And then I may add like one more right there, and it should like, I needed to be able to like take some pressure from the front, like as I lay the sheet over. I am gonna fiberglass it all together, but I wanna and I gotta test fit it as well. But this is like all just for testing and getting the height perfect. This is the part. There's like levels that I was like concerned with while doing this, and this is definitely one of them. It's working out so far. So yeah, I'm gonna call it here. Oh yeah, and another word of advice. I ended up like trying to find a drill bit or a dowel size of a drill bit you have, like your biggest. And it doesn't have to be your biggest, but fairly decent size. And make sure it's like barely bigger than this, because if it's a snug fit on this, it makes it so much easier. So so yeah, so try to match your drill bit up, because I have two different sizes. The thick one, like it fits in there really snug with the drill bit size that I chose to do my holes, and it's like really snug, so it like holds it pretty well. And then it just make fiberglassing it and stuff so much easier. Trying to think of what else I have to do. And I'm thinking about, I have like chunks of MDF. I'm thinking about like fiberglassing on the inside of here, and then using that to and like fiberglass these down, so that way it'd be like somewhat reinforcement for the base of this, instead of just like trying to fiberglass this pole down, which would be harder. So I'll probably just like throw resin in this hole, and then fiberglass a few strips like over it, and then fiberglass it inside the enclosure. That's probably gonna take about a whole day to get to just laying the sheet down. This is a little like labor intense, but like parts aren't too bad. Actually, parts money is getting up there. I had to buy another thing of resin because I almost killed this with all the layers I did in that, and I still think it's not enough. You could even see through it or whatever for the tape. So I'm thinking I had to do like one more layer. But I ended up buying another one of those, actually a smaller size. I think it's a pint. So yeah, this video is a little intense. I may call it here, and then the next video will be me finishing up this and mounting that, and then yeah, I think I'll do that. So we'll make this a 2-3 part video. So that's going to conclude the video for today. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you stay tuned for the next one. Part 3 or 2, whatever it is going to be dropping very soon, since I'm shooting all these back to back. So look forward to that video, and look forward to my Forex videos. All right, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the next.